Hi, I'm Dr. Clarke Sanders. I wanted to give you an idea of my story, the dental practice strategy stories, so you get an idea of where we used to be, where we are today, and where we're going to be going forward in the future. 1981, I graduated from dental school, went to the Navy for 3 years, spent out in San Diego, pretty good gig. Then I came back to Columbus, Ohio. I was an associate for 2 years. At which time in 1986, I bought Dr. Albert Trox's practice down the street and started my ownership career. So from 1986, you'll love these stories, which I'll tell you later, but Dr. Troxel had a red shag carpeting. He smoked a cigar in the office. We had to change a lot of things in that time. And in about 91, we moved the practice. Actually, it's more like 1995, we moved the practice to Pickerington, Ohio, where we are now. We had 4 chairs. We had two people at the front desk. I had an assistant, and I had 1.5 hygienists. I always think it's funny that we have 1.5 hygienists. We just like half her body or something. So we went to, we worked there until 2001. And in 2001, July, I got a call on a Saturday from my friend Mark Shire and my wife, who said our building had caught on fire. Okay, what did that mean? So it was a Saturday, we went out to the office, we had a 40-foot hole in the one half of the court of the building, fell on the mammogram machine that Ohio State owned. I always say that's why our tickets went up for the football games, but because they were self-insured. So we went in and the fireman said, well, I think you're gonna be out of the office for a little bit. And Mark Shy, my friend, said, I think we can get you back in about 3 weeks. So I said, great, we're going on vacation, everything's good. Well, 11.5 months later, we got back in the office. That was June of 2002. Give you an idea of how we were doing financially. In March of 2002, we collected $17,000. That doesn't pay a whole lot of bills, but we had some interruption insurance, so we were able to go. We worked down at an orthodontist office down the street. Kind of challenging, but we made it happen. So in the meantime, I was able to get my sedation license. I hired an associate, Dr. Erin Bealey, who's now my partner. Hired her. Now remember, we didn't have an office, and I hired an associate, so figure that one out. But it all turned out great. So we started going from there. We started doing some marketing. We had 4 chairs. We turned it into 7 chairs. We were able to buy the building. We had half of the building. We had 7 chairs. And we started doing dentistry. Dr. Bealey was basically just a hygienist. She was just doing some hygiene, and we were able to grow at that point. We did some advertising and grew the office. Well, about 3 years after that, we were able to take over another quarter of the building. So now we had 13 chairs. We had to cross the hall. The OBGYN was still in the building. And then in 2008, we took over the whole building with 18 chairs. So that's how we got started in the Pickerington office. In the meantime, I had developed carpal tunnel syndrome, and I had to have surgery on my hands. And I thought, gosh, if I can't practice dentistry, what am I going to do? So I thought, oh, it's a great idea. I'll buy a dental practice, another dental practice. So I bought a practice in Chillicothe, Ohio, 4 chairs, and we started growing that practice. Not well, because it was not one of my best financial decisions at the time. But we, over the years, have grown that. So we've owned that practice since 2008. Also at that same time, about 3 years later, we purchased a practice in Reynoldsburg, and then we purchased a practice in Centerville, Ohio. And we have since merged the Reynoldsburg practice into the practice in Pickerington. So we've done some growing. We then figured out that the dental market was changing. We had to do more growing as an organization, more of a service organization. When I was reading that the solo practitioner was going to have more challenges, but that the group practices could do well because we could consolidate, we could centralize accounting, we could centralize payroll, we could centralize HR, we could centralize our systems and our procedures and our statistics and our management into one group, thus the beginning of dental practice strategy. So 7 years ago, in 2008, 2007, 2008, we started dental practice strategies. That was my son, Brian, and we started putting that together. We worked actually in our house at that time. So we've took that role on. We managed 4 offices, and we hired Trish Blevins to help us manage that. So we've developed this central organization to manage all of our offices, And that's how the story of dental practice strategy started. We now have the roles of DPS team members. We now have the other building in Pickerington. We took over the other building across our parking lot, so we added 10 chairs there, so we now have a total of 28 chairs. We have a downstairs basement that does our meeting room that I'm in right now. Upstairs we call it the loft, which is where the dental practice strategy teams meet, where my accountant is, our HR, our statistician, our after-hour phone folks. We have kind of built this organization. So the role of DPS, obviously you know who I am now. I work with the doctors, and I kind of give the vision for dental practice strategies. Clarke Sanders, he does the statistics, he does the DPS memo that you'll get every month. We can do it about twice a month. He does that, which I think is a great read. It gives us where the statistics for the doctors are, anything new in the organization, and he does a lot of the statistics. Trish is the gal that does a lot of the business coaching. She's a professional business coach. She does our hiring. A lot of you that may see this have been hired by Trish. She does a lot of the internal, kind of the communication with the teams. Mike Wahala is our statistician. He's kind of a logistics engineer, a cost engineer, whatever you want to call him, where he is working with Shine Dental. He's working with our labs to get the best cost. He negotiates telephone charges, anything we can do for cost control. Bryn Hartman is our HR payroll. We call her Mama Bear. She does most of the HR, all of the payroll, so that everything gets into her, which is a big task with the number of folks in our organization. Tracy Russ is our accountant. She does accounting. Can you imagine that? So she does all of our payroll or our payables. She does all the accounting for the offices to keep us our P&Ls for the banks and making sure that we are properly in line for our finances. And then lastly is Brandy, our systems engineer. She does all of our procedures for the office, just keeping people on task, keeping people knowing what's working. Hey, how are we doing? Are we doing fraudulent claims, like sending in the wrong insurance code for something that we did? Basically, it's a crown. Did we do a semi-precious? Did we do an all porcelain? Did we do zirconium? How do we code that? We're all enforcing that type of thing. So she keeps them out of a lot of trouble with that. So that's the organization. That's the story. There's more to it that you'll learn later. But that kind of gives you an idea of what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to centralize things. We're trying to control our costs. We're trying to be using our power of numbers to make sure that we can compete with the corporate dentistry. And that's something I want to touch on. We are not corporate. We are systems and centralize of our organization, centralize our procedures, centralizing our just our organization to make it more efficient. So take that on. We're excited to have you part of our organization. You'll see me, you'll see everybody else, you'll put faces to names, but thanks for listening, and we'll keep you in touch.